Good afternoon, all. Today we have Chandan Maheshwari from Avati Solutions. Skinjal this side from Sinex Group, sir. So I'll just ask you the one question. Big industry expert, how do you see the BFSI industry in next 5 years, sir?
Sure. Thank you, Kinjal, and nice to be part of this forum. Of course, when you ask about next 5 years, I think somewhere we are talking about what has happened over a period of time. And if we see in India, more specifically, the banking really had some sort of a disruption when the Basel II came in, and this was around 2005-6 period. Because that was the time when risk started becoming an important backbone from a decision-making point of view. So I think that was, in a way, one of the critical event which started shaping up a lot of other initiatives. And also, I mean, from a global perspective, this was one of the big bang from a Basel committee guideline. And through which, of course, today we know that Basel is very well accepted and all the central banks would like to refer to them, and eventually these are rolled out across the globe, which is what really happened with Basel, with India, as in terms of the sort of change that we were talking about. So over, I think, the next 10-15 years till today, I think a lot has changed in terms of, if we talk about three big areas. One, let's say from a customer interaction or customer experience point of view, a lot has changed because today essentially the banking industry is going through a crisis where each branch which is opened has a question. Is it really important for the branch to be there? I mean, that's the question which a bank would ask itself. To even NBFCs today, which would like to open a branch which is very strategic, referring to the data, etc. Now, from a customer standpoint, if you look at it, a lot has changed because it's a lot of do-it-yourself which has now come in, whether it is interacting through apps or whether it is through the internet banking or having all the ease of doing a workflow themselves. So a lot has changed on that side. As far as the banking is concerned, of course, they had to keep up with the pace of the digital transformation and boom that was happening. But at the same time, I think with the advent of fintech in particular, it provided or an assurance that while a change in a bank is very difficult, it takes time because it's like an elephant moving. So it'll take time for that change to happen. But from a fintech point of view, they were quite light, right? So they were light on feet, etc. They were able to do a lot of innovations around. Now, with this power play and the NBFC, which also falls in, I think today it's thriving, as we all know. And if since your question was next 5 years, sorry to take that background first. But now the foundation is all there, right? And we have gone through COVID, which was a black swan event, which we speak about. So also taking that kind of a stress and then moving ahead, which means our foundations are extremely, extremely strong. So next 5 years to me, I think as the Indian economy would go, because there's a correlation clearly, and we all expect and we are looking forward to the growth that we are seeing, the unprecedented growth, which we will all go through, whether it is in the manufacturing sector or the services sector, which will automatically bring the bank to the foray. And therefore, they'll have to ensure that that growth stays. They have to be nimble on their feet, which is, as I mentioned, the NBFC, the fintechs, and even the banks today. And the customers' demand will just maybe multiply by 5-10 folds, Gen X more in prominence. So next 5 years will ensure all of that. And I'm quite sure with the foundations we are in, with the regulatory maturity that sort of we are getting into, we are in a very, very strong state. And next 5 years, next 10 years, I think banking will play a huge role with the Indian economy touching the 5 trillion to 10 trillion to maybe eventually 15 trillion mark. Thank you very much.
I totally agree with you, Chandanji. So the last question, would you like to share your thoughts on current opportunities and the challenges in the Indian market?
Sure. I think since it's a generic question, I'm not focusing only on the bank because ultimately the challenges and opportunities are there for all. So whether it is a service provider, a bank, a manufacturing company, a services, hospitality, it is for all. To me, if I look at the challenges first, I think one big challenge that we still have is the income disparity that we talk about. Of course, per capita income is a challenge that we just can't ignore. It stems from two facts. One is the disparity which is there, the rich, extremely rich, the poor, very, very poor. We were talking about a thriving middle class, but which is some sort of a balancer in many ways. But I think that's a big challenge that the per capita income has to steadily come up. I mean, we cannot compare it with other countries which have a huge per capita income, but at least from India's standards, we should look at it from a 2,000 USD per capita today to maybe 3,000, 4,000 to 6,000. So that's the growth that we have to ensure that happens, which of course will be a big, big challenge. Number two, if we have to also look at how the big tech is playing today, right? The blockchains, etc., which is the future state, the usage of AI. This is a period of slightly more uncertainty, which is, I think, pretty normal as far as any technology transformation which has happened on the globe. And we have good talents, as we all know. So point is, how do we see through this period of next 2-3 years and maybe thrive with these technology? I think that's the challenge part. There are a few more, but I think I'll just stick to these two. From an opportunity standpoint, I think the world is open the way we are moving on. Of course, on the manufacturing front, generally we are talking about China +1. So we expect, and we anyway see around, that a lot of things have started happening. A lot of people have taken the plunge to start something, whether it is on our defense as a new sector which has emerged, to something on the space mission, to the traditional manufacturing, which is now getting much more advanced with Industry 4.0, etc. So I think that's one big plus, and it'll just go from here, strength to strength. And number two, as I said, two weaknesses or two challenges, so two strength area as well, I would specify. The second strength is there still is a huge young population that we are talking about, which is very different than how we think, for sure. And the way they would apply themselves and the creativity and the exposure that they had the benefit of, I think it can only take things from strength to strength, because they are not carrying any baggage of an India which was freed by the clutches of an outside force, because they are born in complete independent India and they think very different to us. I just hope that these channelizes and we are able to thrive well.
So thank you so much, Chandanji, for sharing your experience and thoughts, and thank you so much for your time. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Kinjal. You have been very, very kind. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.